Ladies and gentlemen, how are we doing tonight? We got UFC Des Moines to break down. Live breakdown coming right at you. We did one last week for UFC Kansas City. I thought it was pretty fun to do. Hopefully you got something from the live show. I just like to talk the fights. I like to see what the chat is up to. I appreciate y'all for joining me in tonight. We got, 11 fights to break down here? We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. We got 12. Well, one of them might fall off because we've had, 2 weeks in a row where no fights fell off. So it's probably going to happen this Saturday, unfortunately. But 12 nonetheless. We can break them down. We can talk about whatever. This is what the live streams are for. Whatever the chat wants, we go with. Last week we went top to bottom. We could do that again. I'll have to see what the chat wants to do. Juicy Q. Please don't hate on this card. I'm driving 5 hours to watch it live. Well, I wonder where you're driving from, because I think my drive would probably be around 5, maybe 6 hours as well. I'm not going, but have fun. What up, Taylor? How we doing? K Deep Montana. What's going on, brother? Welcome to the live stream. Hello from Argentina, Hayden. We are ready. One of my favorite Argentinian fighters right now, Esteban Ribovics. Love him. Let's go. Can't wait for this roundhouse picks. How we doing, brother? MMA Sap, top to bottom. Top to bottom. They got a book Carlos versus Rude Boy. I could see it. Maybe they just run Carlos Prates, Neil Magny back. Why not? Get him back on the winning streak. Me versus Rude Boy. Carlos. Yeah. There you go. What up, Anas Karim from Georgia? Wow, we getting everybody in here. Illinois-Wisconsin border for me. Where in Illinois/Wisconsin border? Let me know. Because I'm in the big Wisco right now. You could see it back behind me. I got the license plate. Another week, another DFS cookout. Let's do it. We didn't have the greatest week last week on DFS. It could have been a good week, but man, some of these fighters' IQ was just it was brutal to watch. Hopefully we get something better this week. It is a tough card, though, for DFS, if I'm being honest. I thought when I was going through them, I'm like, these lines are a little tough this week because there's a lot of question marks in some fights, honestly. We'll talk about that when we break them down, because there's a way I could see the fight playing out in one person's favor and a way I could see the fight playing out in another first person's favor. And I'm not super confident on what's really going to happen. So the DFS this week was a little bit tough, but the plays I did put in, I feel pretty good about. Might add one, we'll see. But as always, the DFS cookouts. Carlos, what's going on? These are the best lives you do, bro. W stream. Hey, like the chat for me, or like the stream for me. Like the chat. Like the stream for me. I love the chat. I'm in Des Moines, Iowa. Wow. We got Des Moines in the house. Big fan from India. Shout out to India. Damn, Pooja Tomar just had to throw herself into that armbar. Oh boy, that really gets me going, boys. Pooja Tomar. Zion. I don't know where Zion is. Zion, Illinois. Shout out from Vegas. Wow, we got all over the place. I guess everyone's shouting out where they're from. We need to talk Mason Jones. We'll talk about him. I swept on DFS, Viana and Giga under, and Zhang over. That was so free, dude. All three of those were so free. Unfortunately, I had Viana paired with a loser, and I had Zhang paired with a loser. So that sucks. What do you think about Buckley and Ian Gary's situation, and who would win? We kind of talked about this on the Sunday service live stream, but I think it's absolutely the fight to make after Buckley beats Usman. That's got to happen first, but I think it does happen. After Buckley beats Kamaru Usman, you have to make Ian Gary versus Joaquin Buckley. The Buck versus the Cuck. Buckley's got to get on the mic and call out. Say, I just beat Kamaru Usman, one of the best welterweights to ever do it. But I don't want a title shot because we got beef to settle. Give me the Cuck. Let's make it happen. I'm going to knock out the Cuck and make everybody that hates Ian Gary happy. I will be that guy. And I hope he does it, dude. I hope he does. Your prize picks were sick, man. I missed one. Corpus Christi. Something just fell down there. Who do you think wins, Aspinall or Jones? Give me Aspinall, bro. Aurora, Illinois. Hopefully UFC comes to Chicago this year. I hope so. If they come to Chicago, I'm there. If they come to Chicago, I'm going. We are making money. We've been making money this past 7 UFC cards. We're making money for the 8th time this Saturday. Cash the 4-leg KO. Love me a KO parlay. That's a really good one. You like Marina Rodriguez over 6 strikes and Jillian under on finish this week. I like that fight to go the distance. I could tell you that. Marina strikes it's like in that weird spot where I don't feel good about either side. So I just laid off. Thoughts on Bekoev versus Loder? I think the line is way too wide. We'll talk about that. Now we're 6 minutes in. I think we can get into the breakdown. I'm going to pop this Chino in for a very special occasion. Before we get into this breakdown, we got to get it out there, boys, all right? History was made today in the MMA world. Sidey Dumas got arrested for the 15th time. This man he's been arrested more times than he's had professional MMA fights. The 15th time, I believe it was armed robbery. 15 times. If there's any book out there that, if Sidey Dumas gets out again, if he does, I think it's like a $500K bail. But if he gets out again, all right, some sports book out there, some wonky sports book out there has got to put out a line. Sidey Dumas to get arrested for the 16th time. If that happens, you can bet on that. I will have my money on him to get arrested for the 16th time. This dude just fought at UFC 314 like 2 weeks ago. And he's out doing an armed robbery for what? What are you doing? What are you doing? 15 arrests. And he's in the UFC. I don't know how, bro. Like, what is going on here? I just had to get that out there because I saw that. I was like, what? He got arrested again? The last time I heard this man talk, he was talking about how he's a new person. He's a changed person. Not happening, bro. Armed robbery, arrested for the 15th time. Congratulations. You're just setting records, man. Awesome. Awesome stuff. But hey, we're not here to talk about Sidey Dumas getting arrested again. I think we got to talk about UFC Des Moines. What are we feeling today, boys? We want to start from the top to the bottom or go bottom to top? Or maybe we could just go based off of the chats, what fight you guys want to talk about. We can go out of order, but I think it's probably best to just stay in order. So people that aren't able to be in the live can, kind of click through it if they want to look at a certain one. So we got some chats coming in. Carlos says bottom to top. Jacob says top to bottom. I believe we had a top to bottom first. Yeah, from MMA Sap, top to bottom. Let me know in the chat. I'll give you like 20 seconds. Whatever I see more, I'll go with. Bottom to top, bottom to top. Same as last time, top to bottom. How the fuck is Bo Nickel a favorite? Oh my God, this Chino is hitting me. Whew. Oh God. Bottom up, bottom to top, bottom to top. Wow. North to south. All right. Bottom to top. Gang only way. Bottom is a weird ass word. All right. You should probably just say first fight of the night to the main event. Or we should probably say main event to the first fight of the night. But I'm going to let my Wi-Fi stable out and then we can choose. W's in a Chini. The Chino is in the bottom shelf today. For some reason, I just feel in the bottom shelf. Oh God. Okay, I think we're getting more bottom to top. So I think we're just going to do that. Why don't we start with the first fight of the night, boys? Juliana Miller, Ivana Petrovic. Very volatile fight, I will say. I would say this fight is probably one where you're going to see something you don't really expect. Because Juliana Miller is like 3-3 in the UFC or in her professional career. It says 4-3, but I think they're counting the Ultimate Fighter win. Not really sure. Tapology has her at 3-3. Petrovic, on the other hand, I think Petrovic is the way better fighter. I think she's way better, but I don't know that she's really, on a level where you could really trust her. This fight just screams volatility to me. And honestly, I could maybe see a finish. I know we're talking women's MMA, and we don't really get a lot of those finishes, but as we saw last week, Jocelyn Edwards, round 1 KO. Jacqueline Amaram, submission. We kind of saw that one coming. But this is just a low-level fight in women's MMA where I could see a finish. I think Juliana Miller is a terrible striker. She is a terrible striker, but she is ultra aggressive, and ultimately that leads to volatility. She's going to put herself in the fire to where she can get taken down from Petrovic. She can maybe get hit with something clean from Petrovic. She can maybe land something of her own on Petrovic. So I think we just got to lean into the volatility here and maybe, take a little under 2.5 or a fight doesn't go the distance. I believe, let me just check this out. I need a sip of water. The Chino is hitting. The Chino is hitting. Same vibe as last card's opener, kind of. Petrovic by sub, a little sprinkle. Let me share this tab instead. There we go. I mean, plus 155 on the fight doesn't go. It looks a little bit intriguing to me. There is a world where Petrovic at minus 225 could, maybe look like a big favorite if the fight plays out to where Juliana Miller is just, what she was. She's been off for a while. So there's probably going to be, you would expect to see some improvements in her game being off for a year and a half, maybe 2 years. You would expect to see some improvements, but I don't know. I don't know that I can really trust her. She's a girl that is like doing these ring announcing jobs. I think she's trying to make the most out of her career. And I don't really know that she really is trying to make the most of her fighting career. So I don't know if we're going to see improvements. There is a world where I see Petrovic, looking maybe minus 400 or so, but I think we just got to lean into the volatility here. Maybe we see a finish from either side. Petrovic sub at plus 500 doesn't look bad, but Juliana Miller is a pretty solid BJJ girl. I don't know that she's going to get subbed unless she gets caught in something or maybe gasses out. It took Petrovic 3 rounds to submit Na Liang, who's just like an absolute can. So I think it's a tough one to call. If anything, I would steer into the volatility, maybe take an under 2.5, plus 170. I'd probably go fight. Now it doesn't go at plus 155. That's probably what I'm thinking about that one. Not one that I'll be super invested in, though. Let's see what the chat's got to say. Miller by armbar could be interesting. Can't make that bet, though. Maybe you can later in the week. Juliana Miller sub. She's scrappy and aggressive. She is very aggressive, and that's why I think we gotta lean into the volatility a little bit. Miller sub at plus 750 is pretty nice. Where it is, right there. Miller sub at plus 750 is not bad. I looked at both of their Instagrams. They both seem like they're ready to go. Petrovic, actually not bad. It's not actually not the worst to look at. Good Lord. The bottom shelf was not the way to go with this Chino, bro. I could see a finish from either girl. I'll just leave it at that. I would steer into volatility here with the way that Juliana Miller fights. MMA Takes podcast. Is that Big Gun? Big Gun, Brian Petrie? What's going on, brother? Petrovic sub, easy dub, boys. Hey, I would not fault you for playing that at plus 500. That's not bad. I wouldn't bet this one at all, but I don't know anything about these fighters. Probably don't need to know much, bro. This fight going the distance is going to be boring as fuck. I actually don't think it's going to be boring. I just think it's going to look super low level. Super low level. But let's leave that one in the past. Let's move on to, another very high-level fight here with Thomas Peterson and Don'Tale Mayes. I really hope I'm not, buffering right now because it's giving me the Wi-Fi bar on my connection is fairly good. All right. I think we're good. Thomas Peterson, Don'Tale Mayes, another low-level fight. I really think Don'Tale Mayes has always been garbage. And it's pretty much solidified by the way that he has gone about his UFC career. I mean, you really don't see any improvements from the guy. He's been in the UFC for a while. We're talking about a guy that got TKO'd on the ground by Alan Crowder. We're talking about a guy that got taken down by Cyril Gane 3 times and heel hooked. That was a while ago, but still, this dude's grappling is straight up bunts. And Thomas Peterson, for all of his faults, he's a pretty decent wrestler. I don't know that he's like the greatest control guy, but we're talking heavyweights, boys. You know, if Thomas Peterson gets on top, it's a lot of weight on top of you. It's probably going to be tough for Dontel Mays to get out from the bottom. And the fact that this guy's been heel hooked twice and TK out on the ground just says everything, man. It just says everything. I think Thomas Peterson should probably take this one. My only worry is the reach advantage for Dontel. But the problem is with Dontel, he don't even use his reach. He's got an 81-inch reach. He's 6'6", but he don't use it at all. He don't use it at all. So, you know, I think Thomas Peterson probably wins this. Let's look at some props. Maybe we could find something juicy. Dontel Mays. Here's what we're looking at right now. Dontel Mays is plus 210. I would just save my fucking money at that point. Parlay and Thomas Peterson. I'm not a huge parlay guy, you know, at minus 250. I'm not really the guy that likes to parlay favorites like that. Peterson by sub at plus 700 is not bad. It's definitely not bad. That's not terrible, because we're talking about a guy in Dontel Mays that got submitted by Cyril Gahn with a heel hook. He just got submitted with a heel hook. You know, if I'm Thomas Peterson, I'm working the fucking heel hooks. Okay, I'm working the heel hooks the entire camp. I'm going for the takedown, and I'm pulling it for the heel hook in the first time I get the takedown. Why not? You know, it's obvious that Dontel Mays hasn't shored up any of that part of his game. You don't like his heels getting tweaked with. So if I'm Thomas Peterson, get that takedown and roll for the heel hook. Thomas Peterson by sub at plus 700 is not bad. Peterson by points at plus 100, not taking that whatsoever. You know, if this fight goes to a decision, I wouldn't really want a minus 250. Like if I'm going to bet Thomas Peterson at minus 250, I want him to get a finish, or I want him to be a 30-27. I don't really like it plus 100 on Thomas Peterson by points. Plus 700 on the sub is decent. TKO at plus 400. Yeah, I don't really know that he's going to be able to land a ton of ground and pound, because Dontel is a big body there. He would have to like mount him, and Dontel would probably have to be gassed. What's Peterson like round 2 sub? I could see a round 2 sub for Peterson. Plus 2,000. That's not bad. Peterson minus 3.5, minus 120. Yeah, if anything, you know, if I was going to go my boy Nolan's route and just give out a bet, I'd go just for the long shot. Thomas Peterson by sub, plus 700. If you haven't checked out my boy Nolan's show on YouTube, he gives out one bet for every fight. I think it's genius. I think it's a sick thing that he does. But, you know, we go through every fight here on the live. I'll give you some angles that I'm maybe looking at. I've only locked in 3 bets so far. They're all posted on the Home of Fight Picks Winnable. I actually locked in a PFL bet as well today. I got the DFS plays locked in, but this is where I'm just kind of looking through some stuff, get it out there. But I think Thomas Peterson gets the win. I just think the rest one's going to be too much for Dontel. Does he get the finish? I mean, I think you should be able to finish Dontel Mays on the ground. The dude's getting fucking heel hooked. So I think he could probably get a finish. Let's move on. Let's hit the chats real quick. 98 in here and only 25 likes. Let's go. Smash the like button for me, boys. Come on now. You ever thought about doing a cycle parlay kind of like Matty Betts does? That's how I found your channel. I mean, I'll leave the cycle stuff to Matty, but of course, you know, I always throw a couple cycles in myself just for fun. But if you guys actually want my cycles, you can have them, but I'm not going to guarantee you it hits. And I'm not going to hit them at the rate that Matty Betts hits them. I can tell you that. I like a lot of sub props on this card. You know, we could definitely talk about those. 113 now. Yeah, come on, boys. Hit the fucking like button for me, please. How's there no dudes that weigh plus 230 pounds watching these heavyweights thinking that's easy money? Facts, dude. Facts. All right, boys. So let's talk about Gaston Bolanos and Quang Lee. So I think this one is somewhat of a 50-50. I mean, what is Bolanos right now? I think he's like, what, minus 150? It's minus 140. Yeah. I could see a slight favorite towards Bolanos just because I think he's a little bit more effective at range. I think Quang Lee might have the cleaner boxing, but I don't know that he's very good at getting inside. Bolanos' footwork from the outside looks pretty good to me. He's a Muay Thai guy. He likes to skirt around to the outside of the cage, throw his kicks. It's not going to shoot any offensive takedowns, really. His big weakness coming up in the game was his grappling, but it seems like he's kind of shorted up a little bit. You know, he got taken down by Aaron Phillips a few times, but still won that fight. Lost to Marcus McGee, got absolutely brutalized. And then he beats Cortavius Romeus. Now, I don't think Romeus is the greatest fighter, but, you know, he beat him pretty handedly, beat up on him, defended most of the grappling. So I think he shored up some of the holes in his grappling. But the Peruvian Topuria here, I don't know that I believe in him for like the future. I think he can win some fights in the UFC. I think he can win this fight unless Quang Lee gets some grappling going. And then it could probably go to like a greasy decision. Because Quang Lee's, I don't really believe in Quang Lee either. I think he's one of these guys that the UFC brought in on short notice just to kind of keep a fight on the card. I don't really think they were looking at him as a guy that, like, you know, we got to have this guy. So I think his time in the UFC is pretty limited. He's like 33. I think if Quang Lee can get on the inside, he can maybe land some nice shots with his hands. He does have a little bit of pop in his shots. The grappling is not amazing, but I think he might have a little bit of an edge here. So you got to give him that. Let's take a look at the bets. Bolanos minus 140. Fight doesn't go at plus 110. I don't really like that. Quang Lee sub at plus 700. I think that's a pretty slim chance. Bolanos by decision might be the way to go. I know Quang Lee just got TKO'd by Long Jiao, but I think Long Jiao is pretty decent. No, I would probably just lay off of this fight for the most part. If anything, I think Quang Lee's probably going to have to resort to some type of grappling. You know, maybe Bolanos defends it, but lands more damage on the feet throughout the fight. Wins 2 out of 3 rounds. Plus 165 for Bolanos by points might be the move. I don't know that Bolanos is like some devastating striker. I just think he's pretty effective at range. You know, when he's throwing those kicks out there, Quang Lee's pretty susceptible to leg kicks. So Bolanos for me is probably going to be the pick. I don't really see too many great bets on that one outside of, you know, maybe a Quang Lee sub, but honestly, I don't really like it at plus 700. I think there's a pretty slim chance of that coming through. Think Lee can take him. Wow. Mike Maka likes Bolanos. What's up with better picks still missing lines? I think they're just scared, bro. They're scared to make some lines nowadays. Lake can get his back. Bolanos might be the worst grappler. I mean, he's definitely the worst grappler in the matchup, but I don't know that Quang Lee's just like going to get his back and it's over. Because Bolanos had his back taken by Phillips, fought out of it. Back taken by Romeus, fought out of it. Peterson sub fight doesn't go to distance. Wow. Teenage Titan Management. Would love if you could give us a shout out. 17-year-old recently launched Teenage Titan Sports Management, a new fight management company focused on supporting up-and-coming talent. Well, let's take a look at your talent, bro. What up, Balajuan? How we doing, brother? Bolanos can withstand his strikes. Bro was still standing against McGee when the fight ended. Yeah, I think Bolanos probably takes it, but we can move on from that one. I'm not super intrigued. Marina Rodriguez, Jillian Robertson. You know, on my early picks show or video, I don't remember which girl I actually picked. I think I probably picked Jillian Robertson, but I was given some leeway towards Marina Rodriguez just because I think the level of competition they've been facing is pretty not comparable. You know, I mean, Marina's going up against the Yasmin Lucindos, the Amanda Lamoshes, the Yan Xiaonans, the Mackenzie. Like, she's fought everybody. Verna Jandiroba. She's fought pretty much all the top 10 of the UFC strawweights. And Jillian Robertson is pretty much just cracking in. I mean, she got probably the softest matchup she could get inside the top 10 or maybe it was the top 12 when she fought Luana Pinheiro. I mean, she was supposed to go in there and absolutely smoke Luana Pinheiro, and she really did it. She did it. I mean, it was a decision victory. I thought she clearly won, but it was pretty competitive for the most part. Where I see Jillian losing this fight is if she just doesn't commit to her takedowns. And we've seen her do that. Like against Tabitha Ricci, she didn't really commit to her takedowns. And maybe that was just because Tabitha Ricci's takedown defense is pretty damn solid. But if she doesn't commit to her takedowns, she's going to lose. That's what it comes down to. She's going to lose because Marina Rodriguez, for all her faults, she's still the better striker in this matchup. Now, the takedown threat for Jillian might be enough to where he can have some moments against Marina, but Jillian's got to get takedowns. And after I watched the tape, I think Jillian does get her takedowns. Like, for the longest time, Jillian was having trouble getting her takedowns in certain fights just because she was a lot smaller. Then she moved down to 115. And I think her wrestling game is good enough to get the takedowns here. Because when I watch Marina Rodriguez, she has decent initial takedown defense, but then she gets put up against the cage and she has pretty poor cage wrestling, bro. Like, if you get this girl in a body lock and you pick her up a little bit and you throw a leg behind her, she's going down to the ground. And that's pretty much what Jillian Robertson just did to Luana Pinheiro. So I think Jillian's probably going to get her forced up against the cage. She's going to grab her waist. She's going to drag her down to the ground, and she's going to win minutes on top. I don't know that she gets the finish because Marina Rodriguez never been subbed, and I think she does a pretty good job at limiting ground and pound. But Jillian is really good at a ground and pound, like really good. So there's a little bit of worry for that, but I think Marina's going to be good enough to make it to a decision here. The time that they're on the feet, I think Marina will probably get the better of her, but I just think Jillian's probably going to be able to get those takedowns, and she's probably going to be able to win the fight. So I'm going to take Jillian for the pick. Let's take a look at the bets. Jillian Robertson minus 310. I don't know that I would really be laying minus 310 on Jillian just because if she isn't committed to those takedowns, it's probably going to look like a pick 'em or she's going to look like an underdog. Marina Rodriguez at plus 260, not really worth it for me. I do think the fight probably goes to a decision. So if you want to play the fight goes to the distance at minus 135, I don't think that's a bad look. Marina's never been subbed. I think she does a good job limiting grounding pound. I think she does a good job, retaining her guard. So I think the fight probably goes to a decision. I like that at minus 135. Jillian by points at plus 150. I mean, if you're going to build like a cycle parlay, maybe that's a nice little leg there. But outside of that, I don't really see much. Jillian by sub at plus 175. I would lay off that. That's just not good enough for me. Yeah, Jillian by points. Fight goes the distance. I would much rather play the fight goes the distance just so you don't got to sweat out a decision just in case it gets a little bit greasy. But it's kind of what I'm thinking about that one, boys. Let's see what the chat's got. Olajuwon, you're good. I'm good, brother. How are you doing? Canada. Are you from Canada, Olajuwon? Pass on to the next. Fight doesn't go is probably good. Jillian Shamal on top. Marina has survived a lot on bottom, but still, if it's on the feet, Jillian gets lit up. I don't think so. I think the only finishing upside in this one is a Jillian Robertson by like a true beatdown. Like it'd probably have to come in late round 2, late round 3 type of thing because she's really got to work towards it. So I think the fight probably goes to a decision. Could look like the Verna fight. Yeah, I think so too. Lines wide, but betting Marina against a grappler is crazy. Yeah, 100%. You see Rodriguez Dumas got arrested again? Yeah, we said that at the top of the show. Let's get into the next one, boys. Ryan Loder and Azamat Bekoev. After watching the tape, man, I think Bekoev should absolutely win this fight, but it's going to come down to his takedown defense. Considering he's Russian, considering he's actually fought some solid competition, I think he should be able to defend the takedowns. Ryan Loder on the feet, he does a good job minimizing exchanges. He's kind of got like a Stephen Thompson, like karate type stance. And he doesn't throw his hands. He'll just throw his kicks out there, kind of feelers, and then he'll rush you for a takedown. honestly, I don't think his takedowns are all that great. You know, I'm watching him on the regional scene, and he's kind of struggling to get guys to the ground a little bit. Now, when he does get guys to the ground, he does a pretty good job at getting into some positions where he can land some ground and pound, but that's against somewhat of a low level, you know, low level guys. And I don't know that Bekoev is going to be able to, are going to give him spots to where he's going to be able to, you know, land a bunch of ground and pound. Loder does decent job at like isolating some limbs so that he can really go off, but I just don't see him doing that to Bekoev. And I think Bekoev is going to be the better striker here. So it's Bekoev for me. Let's take a look at the bets. Bekoev at minus 380. I could see why he's at minus 380, but I would probably just lay off. I would probably look for like a Bekoev inside the distance type of thing. Bekoev by points at plus 150 is not really it. Inside the distance, plus 115. Bekoev by TKO plus 200. I mean, Bet Online is usually the first to let their props out, and usually they're not the best lines because when you're first, you kind of got to be a little bit sharper. You don't really got to give the best lines out there. So this one's might just be a pass overall, honestly. Fight, you know, maybe the fight does go the distance. Plus 100 is not terrible. I know Bekoev is coming off the ground and pound knockout against Zachary Reese, but you know, Cody Brundage knocked out Zachary Reese. I don't know that Zachary Reese is the most durable. He also bashed him in the head, back of the head, like pretty blatantly. So maybe he does that again to Ryan Loder, but fight goes the distance at plus 100 is not terrible. But, you know, if I'm going to bet Bekoev, I probably want him to get a finish at minus 380. If it goes to a decision, minus 380 is probably going to be looking somewhat competitive. That means Loder's probably hanging in there, getting a couple takedowns. So I'd probably go the inside the distance route. What's Bekoev? Yeah, I was going to say, I really only see a finish on the Bekoev side. I don't think Loder's going to go in there and finish him unless he catches him in like some super dominant position and snatches up like an arm triangle or something. Inside the distance, no decision. Yeah, that's terrible. So I'm not really liking too much right now as I look at it. I'll probably dive deeper in a little bit. Fight goes the distance, maybe a nice little angle, but let's hit the chats real quick before we get into the feature prelim. Oh my God, boys. The feature prelim. Everyone's waiting for this one. Canadian from close to where Brad Katona was originally from. You, Brad Katona, keep the one to yourself. It's crazy. D. Dumas on NX show made it sound like she's coming to make a statement. Sorry, late on this. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's just her coach. She's what he's gonna say. What is he gonna say? She's coming in there to get a win by any means? No. She's going in there to make statements. It's probably the only UFC fighter we'll ever see from Winnipeg, so I gotta cheer for my guy. Hey, gotta do what you gotta do. Did you watch Road to UFC Asia? The card is stacked. Indians are coming for the gold suit. No, I did not. Another shotgun break. All right, let's talk about this one, boys. Yana Santos, Miesha Tate. I think Miesha Tate has all the possibility in the world to look like a big favorite here, but it's going to come down to her game plan. If her game plan is to go out there, have fun, maybe her retirement fight, then I don't like it. Because that means she'll probably be looking to scrap a little bit. But if she goes in there with the game plan like she had her last fight against Julia Avila, she should be able to get takedowns on Yana Santos. Yana Santos she has no takedown defense, but she does always, she just continues to work. Like Yana Santos is always in incredible shape. She has solid cardio. She throws a lot of volume out there, so she's probably going to win the striking until she gets taken down. Miesha Tate should be able to get the takedowns. And if she does, I think she could look like a big favorite here because Yana Santos' takedown defense is terrible. So we look at the betting line. Miesha Tate's at minus 140. I haven't bet anything yet, but I am debating, if I want to play the Miesha Tate line. I'm debating it just because it's a little bit greasy. Don't know where she's at in her career. And if she gets stuck on the feet, then it's probably a competitive decision. I look at like the downside for Miesha Tate. It's probably a competitive decision, but like the upside is where she just looks dominant, getting the takedowns and looks dominant on top. So I think there's more upside for Miesha Tate here. Tate by TKO, honestly, might be decent just from ground and pound because Yana Santos, she works. So that's going to be tough to cash, the ground and pound. She's probably going to still be squirming, and it's probably going to be tough to cash a ground and pound type of thing. But the TKO plus 900 is not terrible. Miesha Tate round 3 plus 1050. That's not bad. I think it's, if Miesha Tate gets her takedowns, I think she'll probably start to run away with it a little bit. And maybe she could find a third round finish or it goes to a decision. But, the Miesha Tate line at minus 140 is kind of calling my name. I haven't gotten there yet, but we'll see. Looks like everyone just hates this fight, so we can move on. This fight is crap. Both women are absolute disgrace to UFC competition, sent to the GFL, aka retirement. I thought both of them were in the GFL, but yeah. Talking about GFL fighters, we got Jeremy Stephens. Jeremy Stephens coming back to the UFC. I believe it's just a one-fight deal. Interesting. Not really sure why. I guess just because it's the Iowa card, but he's a big underdog here against Mason Jones. And, I can see why, but at the same time, Mason Jones isn't exactly a guy that I would want to be laying huge chalk on. What is Mason Jones? Minus 500 or something? Come on, load. There we go. Minus 550. Mason Jones is minus 550, boys. How can I trust that? If you ever watch a Mason Jones fight, this dude, Mason Jones, just loves getting in firefights. He is so hittable. And Jeremy Stephens is the hardest hitting 145er on the planet. But he is also 38. He hasn't fought in MMA in a few years, and his MMA career was not going well. That's why he went to BKFC. And I think Jeremy Stephens in BKFC is a problem. Jeremy Stephens in MMA, probably not so much. But the way that Mason Jones fights, you're probably going to see a firefight. And if you're in a firefight with Jeremy Stephens, you're kind of giving him the chance to pull one out here. Jeremy Stephens by KO at plus 700. That's pretty juicy. I'm not going to lie. Jeremy Stephens by KO at plus 700 is juicy. I know Mason Jones has never been KO'd. He's been in there with guys like Ludovic Klein, David Onama, Mike Davis. Mike Davis hits pretty damn hard. Ludovic Klein knocked him down at one point, but he just kind of ate it, man. What's Jeremy Stephens? Jeremy Stephens by points. That could maybe be the play. What is Jeremy Stephens? What does he look like when fights go to decision? He's 8-13. His last win was a decision. It was a split decision to Miles Price, who was 11-8. So, yeah, Jesus, this is not looking good. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. He's lost 7. Oh my God. Jeremy Stephens has lost 7 of his last 8 MMA fights. So I get why. Oh my God. You know what? What the hell? This is actually somewhat of a decent call out. Fight doesn't go the distance. Isn't even chalky. It's minus 135. That's actually not bad. That's not bad at all. That's actually not bad at all. Good call out there, Mike Honcho. I didn't even peep that because I saw the over under was at 1.5. Fight doesn't go at minus 135 is not bad at all. It's not bad. That might actually be the play. I might have to lock that in. I want to take a look at it a little bit more once I get off the live, but it's not a bad call. Minus 135. Fight doesn't go. Mason Jones, Jeremy Stephens. Mason Jones gets into firefights. Jeremy Stephens, the hardest hitting 145er on the planet. I could see it happening. Jeremy Stephens has been finished many times as well, so it's not really out of the realm that Jeremy Stephens gets finished. 38. It's not a bad call. I would definitely want to take a look at that one. We shall see. But I got Mason Jones probably winning this one. But at minus 550, I'm not touching it, boys. Not touching it at all. Let's move on. Cameron Smotherman, Sandhagen City. It's an interesting one, boys. It's a very, very interesting one because Cam Smotherman once lost on the Contender Series, and I bet against him. I bet against Cameron Smotherman against Karlampus Gregorio. And we saw what Karlampus Gregorio did in the UFC. It wasn't jack shit. Okay, Karlampus Gregorio was a terrible fighter. Terrible fighter. And he knocked out Cameron Smotherman. But if you put them up against each other now, I would lay the fucking house on Cameron Smotherman, okay? I think that was a fluke-ass KO. Like, he definitely caught him, dropped him down, but I think that was somewhat of a fluke KO. And if they ran it back, I would lay the house on Cameron Smotherman. Cameron Smotherman, I think, is a really solid fighter, and he's improving. He's pretty young. And I'm going to take him to beat Sandhagen City because I watched Sandhagen City, and I faded him with Garrett Armfield. And I'm like, I think Garrett Armfield's way better boxer. I think he's can avoid the grappling. And I just think Sandhagen City doesn't do well fighting backwards. Sandhagen City's like a tall guy, 5'11". He likes to use his kicks. He likes to use his long range weapons. But if you get it on the inside and you kind of put the pressure on Sandhagen City, he doesn't really know how to counter strike. He doesn't know how to counter strike. He kind of just shells up and wants to get back to range. And I think that's where Cameron Smotherman is going to smother him. He's going to smother him with his pressure. And Cameron Smotherman's a solid boxer, goes to the body, goes to the head. Good takedown defense as well. I mean, most of his fights, guys want to take him down, and he's really, shored up that part of his game. Even if he does get taken down, he pops up right away. City is hittable, but he's very durable. So I think it's probably Smotherman by decision, but I think Smotherman wins. Let's take a look at this. The odds, Smotherman's plus 116. I think there's still some wiggle room there. I think he should be favored slightly, honestly. Smotherman by points plus 265. I'm liking that. I am liking that. I do think it probably goes to decision just because I think City is pretty damn durable. I don't know that Smotherman has like the biggest knockout power, but he just likes to overwhelm you with volume. And honestly, if there is a finish, I see it probably coming late for Smotherman. Smotherman round 3 KO plus 1400. That's less than I thought it would be. I mean, they think the round 3 KO is more likely for Smotherman than for City. It should tell you a little bit of something. Smotherman KO plus 385. Yeah, I mean, unless Cameron Smotherman gets knocked out in the first round, I think he puts the pace on Sandhagen City. I think he has great upside to win round 3. I think he could take over early into round 2. And it's not like Cameron Smotherman is like a slow starter. There's just, he's been clipped a couple times. I don't really think he's chinny, though. So I'm going to take Cameron Smotherman here. I think Cameron Smotherman gets it done probably by decision. The decision at plus 265 or whatever I said is decent angle. Round 3 might be decent. Probably wait to see what other books have because the round props on BetOnline usually aren't the best. But Cameron Smotherman it is for me. I like him this week. Smotherman money line, sprinkle on the KO. City is so hittable. Smotherman is going to box him up on the feet. I agree, bro. Smotherman money line. I forgot about that robbery. Yeah. Like, I think Sandhagen City just doesn't do well in the pocket. Like, he's a solid striker from the outside, but I don't see him countering anything in the pocket, and that's where Smotherman likes to thrive. He likes to thrive in the pocket, and when he's putting that pressure on you, and if you can't keep up with his pocket boxing, when he's ripping to the body and going upstairs, landing combinations, like, you probably ain't gonna do well as the fight goes on. So that's why I like Smotherman, man. That's why I like Smotherman this week. City, Canada again. Hey, what does that see? Ukraine? Yeah, Ukraine. He's from Ukraine, all right? He ain't from fucking Canada. Does he rep? I think he reps the Ukraine flag instead of the Canadian flag, which is okay, I guess. Do whatever you want to do. Split decision, maybe. Zin Eater. Hey, I already ditched my Zin because it was getting a little juicy. Let's go. Montel Jackson. Daniel Marcos. Interesting one here because Montel, I might have to pull it up, boys. I might have to pull it up. Montel Jackson, fellow Wisconsinite from Milwaukee. I looked at this dude's Instagram, and I was like, "Yeah, this dude's definitely from Milwaukee." I gotta show it. Share this tab. That is, dude's definitely from Milwaukee. Dude's a specimen, though. He's a real specimen. Like, what are we doing? I don't know what that is. Like, what are we doing, bro? Montel, what are we doing? Like Doe, I'm getting my brother's football back. I don't know what's going on here, bro. Montel Jackson's Instagram just geeks me. Because if you know what I'm talking about, like, Montel is a Milwaukee guy, bro. He just is. But he's a specimen, bro. He's 5'10", 75-inch reach. He's got a crazy knockdown rate coming off a brutal now round one knockout to Damon Blackshear, who's absolutely surging. So, I mean, the guy's the real deal. He's the real deal. You do not want to strike with him. And I'm interested to see how Daniel Marcos goes about this fight because Daniel Marcos is a striker. He's not a grappler. He's not going to look to take the fight to the ground. So how's he going to do in the stand-up with Montel? I think he's probably going to, I mean, he should be hesitant because Montel has some serious power. I don't know that Montel is going to put the pressure on him, though. Like, the crazy part with Montel is that he has a 75-inch reach. You know, like, he's so long, and if you get hit on the end of his shot, like, you're going down. The dude's knockdown rate is crazy. He also has decent grappling. Like, he has had some problems getting taken down in the past. Like, he got taken down 8 times by Brett Johns, 7 times by Ricky Simone. That's the only time he's lost. But I just don't know that Daniel Marcos is even going to attempt a takedown here. I guess he attempted a couple against Adrian Yanez. But, you know, Adrian Yanez is a pure boxer. I think Montel Jackson's grappling is a little bit better than Adrian Yanez. So, you know, I think Montel probably gets the dub here. I could see it going to a decision just because I think Daniel Marcos is pretty durable. But I think Montel will probably land the bigger shots. What is Montel when it comes to the betting odds? Minus 201. They don't have props up yet, which sucks. But minus 201, honestly, the over 2.5 at minus 205, would not play that. Would not play that. With Montel's power, I would not play that. I thought Daniel Marcos lost to Davey Grant, and he really struggled getting in on the inside or even landing on Davey Grant. And Montel doesn't have like the movement of Davey Grant, but you know, is he going to be able to close the distance? Because, you know, Davey Grant also doesn't have a 75-inch reach and huge knockout power. With the right game plan, though, Daniel Marcos could maybe win this one. He could maybe win this one with like an Ian Gary game plan. But he doesn't have the height. He doesn't have the length to pull off an Ian Gary game plan of like leg kicking, jabbing, and run away. You know, so I think Montel probably takes it. I'll take it for the pick. Minus 200 is not really it for me. We don't have props out yet, so I can't really get too much into that. But Montel will be the pick. Under 2.5, maybe, or just take Montel by KO. Yeah, he's originally Ukrainian. Daniel Marcos with a game plan might get this W. That's what I'm trying, you know, maybe an Ian Gary game plan, but I just don't think he has the physical attributes to do it. Such a hard fight because I feel like Marcos should be able to deal with a 1-2 as a boxer. Montel has power, but is very basic but clean. That is true. Like, Montel's striking is so basic, but he doesn't overcomplicate it. And when he does, you know, throw his hands, they look pretty sharp. So I got to give him that. He's just not very active either, but you know, I think it's a winnable fight for him. If he needs to go to the grappling, I think he can do it because he's so much bigger than Daniel Marcos. Karl Malone jersey. Peruvians are crazy. Marcos has hands. He does have some solid hands, but do you want to test the hands against Montel Jackson is the question. Let's go on. Santiago Ponzinibbio, Daniel Rodriguez. This is one where I'm looking at and I'm like, two old guys. You know, Ponzinibbio is coming off a round 3 KO win over Carlson Harris, but he got dropped in round 1. Rodriguez is coming off a close fight with Alex Morono. Don't like that. Overall, you know, I think Ponzinibbio, I mean, they're both strikers, but I think Ponzinibbio has some grappling upside if he wants to go to it. I don't think D-Rod is going to be looking to take down Ponzi, but I could see Ponzi looking to take down D-Rod because, you know, D-Rod got taken down by Kelvin Gastelum, and that just tired him out and ultimately wore him down. And that's how Kelvin, you know, pretty much took over the fight with his grappling. Not to say that Ponzinibbio is some great wrestler, grappler, but he is definitely probably the better grappler in this spot when it comes to, you know, wrestling and pushing a pace. I think Ponzinibbio's cardio, I think, is a little bit better. Ponzi kind of builds into fights a little bit. You know, sometimes he starts off a little bit shaky, but kind of builds into it. Ponzi, at this point, honestly, I think he's a little bit more game. You know, like when they're throwing those hands, I think Ponzi has a little bit more pop. I know Ponzi's been dropped, but I don't know that D-Rod's going to be out here like dropping Ponzi all over the place. I don't think he's going to knock him out cold. So even if he lands some solid shots on Ponzi, I think Ponzi will be able to weather it, get back to his game, and just keep pushing forward. So I think Ponzi's a little bit more game here, and I think he can get a dub. Let's look at the odds. Ponzi's minus 125. I honestly expected Ponzi to be like minus 150. So I don't think that's terrible. Ponzi money line at minus 125. I don't think that's bad. I think that's solid. Ponzi by knockout at plus 350 is not bad. What's Ponzi like round 3 knockout? Ponzi round 3 at plus 1200 is not bad. Because like I said, he's a guy that builds into the fight. I don't think D-Rod's cardio is the best. And I don't think D-Rod deals with like a really high pace, kind of grindy type of fight that Ponzi could bring into this fight that well. Ponzi round 3 is not bad. I mean, we're talking about a guy, D-Rod, that got submitted in round 3 by Neil Magny. So that should tell you where it's at. What's Ponzi round 3 sub? Plus 5,500. Plus 5,500 on Ponzi round 3 sub. That is a hell of a long shot. But yeah, boys, I'm going Ponzi on this one. D-Rod doesn't look like he even wants to fight. Let me tell you, I had a good amount of coin on D-Rod against Alex Morono because I think Alex Morono is just terrible. But when he showed up with that bald head, I was like, the aura of Daniel Rodriguez is completely over. The bald head was not a good look for me. I thought he looked frail in there. His head looked small, and I was scared for him. He ultimately got the win, but it was competitive. Ponzi moneyline sprinkle KO. I agree. What I think about Miller sub, I think it's a decent long shot. Ponzinibbio RDR parlay. It's kind of wild how Ponzi stays under radar while constantly in the feature slot of cards. It's true. I mean, the UFC loves him, and he does work for them with like the Espanol, whatever. But Santi, yeah, buddy. Bro counted him out because of bald head. Hey, all right. Daniel Rodriguez was known for that like perfect comb over that he's always had. And then he went for a bald head, and his head just looked so small. He looked like a frail old man. Honestly, in there against Alex Morono, I was scared he was just going to get clipped with something and get knocked out. He looked sick or something. I agree, dude. It scared the shit out of me because I had some coin on Daniel in that fight, and it honestly didn't turn out to be a great bet. Ponzi round 3 KO. I like Ponzi, boys. I like Ponzi. Let's look at this one. Rainier de Ritter, Bo Nickel. This one is tough to call because I could really see Bo Nickel coming in here with the Paul Craig game plan where he's just going to strike with him. I could see that. But the problem is Rainier de Ritter has better wrestling than Paul Craig. Paul Craig, I don't even think Paul Craig shot a takedown in that one. Paul Craig was just content to strike with Bo Nickel as well. So if Bo Nickel comes into the game plan with, I'm just going to strike with him because I don't want to test, you know, my ground game with Rainier de Ritter, we can't rule out Rainier de Ritter just looking to, you know, looking to grapple against Bo Nickel because that's what Rainier de Ritter does every single fight. He's not going in there to just, you know, strike with it. He's not going to just be content to strike with Bo Nickel. So there's the aspect of that. Rainer DeRitter is huge as well. See it in the chat. My Concho, good call. Rainer DeRitter is huge. I mean, he walks in there probably 215, if not more. It might be more, honestly. Plus 220. He could be like 220 in there. He's huge. Great jiu-jitsu, nasty jiu-jitsu, dangerous jiu-jitsu. And if Bo Nickel gets on the ground with RDR, he could be in trouble. But ultimately, I think Bo Nickel could knock out Rainer on the feet just because he likes to wing that overhand left. I think it is pretty dangerous. And I think Bo Nickel probably gets a win here, boys. I don't know. Like, this is just it's probably a fight that I'm gonna lay off. But then I see this. Rainer by sub at plus 650. Like, come on. That's calling my name, boys. That's calling my name. Rainer DeRitter by sub. Plus 650 is not bad. That's not bad at all. Fight goes the distance, plus 140. Not sure how much I like that. Just because I think Bo could probably knock him out. Rainer could maybe sub him. Rainer DeRitter plus 650 is not bad, boys. We're talking about a guy. I mean, how many subs does this guy have? 19 wins, 14 subs. I mean, he's good. And he showed, I mean, if you sub GM3, I mean, I'm going to have to take a look on your sub prop against anybody, even if it is Bo Nickel. Plus 650 on the sub for Rainer DeRitter might be the move, just for a little stab, you know? Bo sub is plus 650. That's not bad. I mean, Rainer's only lost by KO. And it was against a dude in one who's like on all the sauce. So I don't know. That is weird. The RDR sub is so high, but I don't think it happens. Yeah. Almost went the distance with Gordon Ryan. That is true. Looked like the Craig fight. Craig shot 0 takedowns. Yeah, dude. Like, I mean, everyone gives Bo shit for that fight because Bo didn't shoot a single takedown. He just struck with him, but Paul Craig didn't shoot a takedown either. So if he comes into this fight against RDR with the plan of I'm not going to shoot a takedown, he can't really bank on RDR just playing with the game plan, because I don't think RDR has the greatest takedowns, but I think he's a better wrestler than Paul Craig. I think he's more physical, and his jiu-jitsu is nasty. So yeah, the pick's going to be Bo Nickel, but you know, RDR by sub at plus 650 is not bad, boys. Lost twice to that guy by KO. Bo might have the same strength. No. I can tell you right now, Bo Nickel does not have the same strength as, what is his name? Anatoly Malakin. Anatoly Malakin is a heavyweight, like a legit heavyweight. And he weighed in at, that was a light heavyweight. But look at this. I mean, I got to pull up a picture, boys. Rainer DeRitter versus Anatoly Malakin. Come on, give me a good picture. This might not be like the greatest picture, but come on, bro. That dude's freaking huge. Just look at his head. That's a huge head. All right. He ain't have the strength that Bo Nickel does. Or Bo Nickel doesn't have the strength that he does. I can tell you that. But either way, Bo Nickel's gonna be the pick. RDR by subs, not too bad. To the main event, boys. We got Corey Sandhagen, Davison Figueiredo. Honestly, if you're picking Davison Figueiredo, I would love to hear your argument. Is there anyone in the chat that thinks Davison Figueiredo wins this fight? I just think it's a really tough fight for Figgy. And at one point, I used to be the Figueiredo whisper, okay? Because when he and Brandon Moreno were fighting that quadrilogy, I bet on Moreno to beat him in the second fight, which he did. I bet on Figgy to beat Moreno in the third fight, which he did. And I bet on Moreno to beat Figgy in the fourth fight, which he did. And then he moved up to 135. And that's when I lost it. I went with Rob Font against Davison Figueiredo, because I thought Davison Figueiredo was just kind of on this path of taking his UFC fights and not wanting to cut weight anymore. I didn't really think he was that motivated, but he got a win. And then I tried to fade him again with Marlon Cheeto Vera, because I'm like, Cheeto, durable. I think he should be motivated here. I think he's probably a better striker at range. I think he can stuff takedowns. Didn't happen. He beat Cheeto. And then he fought Petr Yan, and I'm like, there's no way in hell Figgy wins this fight against Petr Yan. Okay, he's outclassed in every single area. That's pretty much what I think about here. I don't know that he is an edge here against Corey in many ways. I think Corey's more effective at range. I think Corey can stuff the grappling, if not grapple Figgy himself. So I think Corey wins this one, boys. Take a look at the line and the props. Where are we here? There we are. Sandhagen at minus 480. It's like you just can't get anything easy nowadays. Minus 480, you're going to have to pay a hefty price tag. I don't know that I would parlay it, but as I said, I'm not exactly the parlay guy when it comes to heavy favorites. Fight goes the distance, minus 190 is not terrible. Not terrible. I mean, Figgy's pretty damn durable. I think it would have to be some type of like cut stoppage, kind of like the Sandhagen Song Yadong thing, where Sandhagen cuts him open. Figgy has lost. He lost to Brandon Moreno in the fourth fight with the TKO doctor stoppage because his eye swelled up. So that's probably the way it loses. This fight goes the distance. I don't see Sandhagen knocking him out with something clean. I don't see Figgy knocking him out with something clean. I don't see Sandhagen submitting him, and I don't really see Figgy submitting him either. So I think if fight probably goes to decision, I think it's probably Sandhagen by points at minus 150. Sandhagen minus 5.5 is minus 260. That's crazy. I mean, they really think he's going to run through him. Figgy inside the distance decision, no action, plus 175. I mean, that's just kind of a shot in the dark. I wouldn't really play that. Yeah, I mean, I think it's probably Sandhagen by decision, boys. I think it's Sandhagen by decision. He gets it done. Gets a win up against another old guy. And Sandhagen gets it done, boys. I really don't see much else. I mean, I don't think Figgy has much of a chance. I think the only way he'd have to win is like getting some knockdowns in some rounds. Kind of how he beat Moreno in the third fight that they had, where he was landing a couple knockdowns, got a couple takedowns. He's going to have to get real crafty in there. He's going to have to really have a veteran type of performance where his fight IQ is just off the charts and he's clicking on all cylinders to get a dub here. Figgy been looking rough this week. Yeah, it's because of the Figgy looking out of shape pictures, making it even wider. I saw something, but I was like, is that actually him? Maybe I can pull something up. Davison Figueiredo concerns fans after images emerge of him days out from UFC Des Moines. Where are these pictures? Oh my God. What? No way. There's no way. That's him? Oh my God, he looks chubby. Oh my God, he looks chubby. Is he even going to make weight? No. Maybe it's just the haircut, but he looks chubby in the face. Like super chubby. God, he doesn't even look like bulky either. He looks out of shape. Holy shit. Holy shit, boys. Yeah, he might be cooked. He might be cooked. I said that fight goes the distance might be a decent play, but after looking at this, I don't know, boys. I don't know. This has to be from a while ago. Oh, come on. It says throwback pictures. Talking about my trajectory, what moves me, and everything I still want to conquer. There's still time to follow. Okay. Yeah, it's got to be throwback pictures, boys. Come on. The pictures are old. I thought it was fake too. Last week he might. Is it throwback pic? I mean, if you do look at a lot of fighters like when they first start camp or somewhere around that, they do tend to look pretty out of shape. But I guess we'll have to just see him at weigh-ins, man. We'll just have to see him at weigh-ins because he looks huge. Not touching Sandhagen by decision now. Figgy my gas out. Yeah, he don't look great, but does he have any other recent stuff? God, he is such a gremlin, though. Yeah, I guess just look at weigh-ins, boys. But media picks tomorrow, too. Yeah, let's take a look at those. Figgy Pimlet. All right, boys. I think I'm going to hop out of here. That's the card. UFC Des Moines. Appreciate y'all for joining the live. If you want my bets, jump in the Home of Fight Picks Premium membership. Link down in the description below. We also got PFL. We got PFL on Thursday. I already got a bet locked in on PFL. I got 3 bets locked in already for UFC Des Moines. Should be a good card. Definitely going to add more to that. We got official picks coming at you tomorrow. Just going to make sure I do my full due diligence before I give out my official picks. I know I gave you some picks here on the live, but that's where the video gets posted. Shorter form, straight to the point. Got best bets video on Thursday. We got long shots only live show on Friday. Should be good. Appreciate y'all. Like the live for me. Subscribe to the channel. I'm ending the IG live right now, but I'm going to add the YouTube live now. Appreciate y'all. Until next time. Hey, job.